hood of a 2025 vehicle, and what do you see? You see an engine cover made of plastic hiding a nightmare. You see turbochargers glowing red hot, cooking the oil. You see 0W20 water-thin oil that is designed for fuel economy, not protection. You are looking at a disposable appliance designed to last exactly 1 day longer than the warranty expires. But it wasn't always this way. There was a golden era of engineering, roughly from 1990 to 2010, where manufacturers built engines out of cast iron and heavy steel. These engines didn't just last 100,000 miles, they lasted 3, 4, even 500,000 miles with basic maintenance. These engines are the holy grail for anyone who wants to opt out of the monthly car payment cycle. Today, I'm going to break down the metallurgy and physics behind the 7 most indestructible engines ever built and tell you exactly which cars you can find them in for pennies on the dollar. We start with the engine that kept General Motors alive for 20 years, the 3800 Series 2 V6. This engine is a cockroach. It will survive a nuclear apocalypse. It was voted one of the best engines of the 20th century by Ward's Auto World, and for good reason. It uses a pushrod design. This means it doesn't have massive overhead cams, complex variable valve timing gears, or mile-long timing chains that stretch. It is simple, compact, and heavy. The block is cast iron. The cylinder heads are cast iron. Unlike modern aluminum engines that warp if they get too hot, you could overheat a 3800 until it glows red, let it cool down, add water, and it would start right back up. It does have one specific weakness you need to know about: the plastic intake manifold gaskets and the coolant elbows. GM accountants cheaped out on the rubber. These gaskets eventually degrade and leak coolant. But here's the good news. It's a $300 fix. Once you replace those gaskets with the updated aluminum ones, this engine is immortal. You can find this engine in the Buick LeSabre, the Pontiac Grand Prix, and the Chevy Impala. Buy one for $3,000 and you will never walk again. Ask any old school farmer what the best truck engine ever made was. They won't say V8. They will say the 300 straight six. The Ford 4.9-liter inline six is not a car engine. It is industrial machinery. It was used in wood chippers, UPS trucks, tractors, and generators. Why is it unkillable? Because it doesn't use a timing chain. It doesn't use a timing belt. It uses timing gears. Inside the engine, the crankshaft gear meshes directly with the camshaft gear. Metal on metal. There is nothing to stretch, there is nothing to snap, there is nothing to skip. Unless you physically melt the metal, the timing will never fail. It features 7 main bearings holding the crankshaft. That is massive overkill. It creates a bottom end that is virtually indestructible. It makes massive torque at low RPMs. It isn't fast. 0 to 60 takes yes, but it will pull a house down. Compare that to the new Ford EcoBoost engines with their wet belts dissolving in oil. The Ford 300 is the antidote to modern engineering. You can find these in the 1980s and 90s F-150s. If you find a rust-free one, buy it. It will outlive your grandchildren. Honda makes great engines, but the K24 is their masterpiece. Found in the Acura TSX, the Honda CR-V, and the Honda Accord from the mid-2000s, this engine proves that you can have high performance and high reliability. It features forged steel crankshaft and heavy-duty sintered forged connecting rods. Unlike modern Hondas that suffer from oil dilution and blown head gaskets due to turbo pressure, the K24 is naturally aspirated and overbuilt. It uses a high-quality timing chain that rarely stretches if you keep oil in it. It features IV tech, which allows it to be fuel efficient around town, but scream to 7,000 RPM when you need power. We regularly see these engines in CR-Vs with 300,000 or 400,000 miles, still running on the original factory clutch and head gasket. There is one mechanic warning: the VTC actuator. On cold starts, you might hear a momentary rattle. That is the VTC gear lacking oil pressure. It's annoying, but it rarely causes catastrophic failure. If you want a daily commuter that's fun, efficient, and refuses to die, look for a K24. Just avoid the 2008 and 2009 models, which had a rare oil burning issue due to piston rings, and stick to the 2004 to 2010 plus era. I am giving you the best engines here, but you need to be careful. Manufacturers often put good engines in cars with bad transmissions. For example, the Honda V6 is a great engine, but if you buy it in a 2003 Honda Accord, the automatic transmission has a nearly 100% failure rate. You need to know the specific combinations to avoid. I compiled the 2025 used car blacklist. It lists every specific model year where the transmission or electrical system ruins a good engine. Don't guess. No. Download the list right now at the link in the description. It is the cheapest insurance you will ever buy. This next engine cemented Toyota's reputation in the truck world, the 4.7-liter 2UZ FE V8. This engine is famous for one specific truck, the Million Mile Tundra. A delivery driver named Victor Shepard put 1 million miles on his 2007 Tundra with the original engine. When Toyota bought the truck back and took the engine apart, they were shocked. The cylinder walls still had the factory machining marks. The bearings looked brand new. Why? Because it uses a massive cast iron block. This was the last time Toyota used iron for a V8 before switching to aluminum to save weight. Iron is stable. It handles heat cycles better than aluminum. It absorbs vibration better. However, you must know this. It uses a timing belt. It is an interference engine, meaning if the belt snaps, the engine is destroyed. You must change the belt every 90,000 miles. If you do that, the engine is physically incapable of dying. You can find this in first-gen Toyota Tundra, the 4Runner V8, the Land Cruiser, and the Lexus GX 470. Buy one. Before the 2UZ, there was the 1UZ. This was the engine designed for the original Lexus LS 400. Toyota spent over $1 billion developing this car. They wanted an engine so smooth that you could balance a coin on it while it was running. They achieved it. The tolerances in this engine are tighter than many aircraft engines. The crankshaft is forged steel. The pistons are made of a hyper-eutectic alloy that resists expansion. It uses 6-bolt main bearing caps. To put that in perspective, most V8s use 2-bolt or 4-bolt mains. 6-bolt mains are usually reserved for race cars pushing 1,000 horsepower. Toyota put it in a luxury sedan. This engine is so over-engineered that it is practically bored at highway speeds. You can drive it at 100 miles per hour all day long, and it isn't even stressing. If you find a clean Lexus LS 400 or SC 400, you are buying a piece of automotive history that will run forever. We can't talk about longevity without talking about diesel, and the king of diesels is the Mercedes OM617. This is a 5-cylinder, naturally aspirated diesel found in the W123 Mercedes 300D from the 70s and 80s. These cars are still serving as taxis in the Middle East and Africa with 2 or 3 million miles on them. Why? Because there is nothing to break. It uses a cast iron block and a cast iron cylinder head. It uses a mechanical fuel injection pump. There is no ECU, there are no sensors, there is no check engine light because there's no computer to check it. If a nuclear EMP blast wiped out all electronics on Earth, this car would still start and drive. It is slow, 0 to 60 takes about 14 seconds, and it is loud, but it runs on anything. Diesel, vegetable oil, heating oil, it is the definition of a survival machine. And finally, the engine that is worth more than the truck it sits in, the 5.9-liter 12-valve Cummins turbo diesel, found in Dodge Rams from 1989 to mid-1998. The truck around it will fall apart. The dashboard will crack, the doors will fall off, the steering will get loose. But the engine will be just fine. It is an industrial engine shoved into a consumer pickup. It uses the legendary P7100 mechanical injection pump. This pump is lubricated by the fuel itself. It has massive connecting rods that look like they belong in a ship. It has no emissions equipment, no DEF fluid, no DPF filters to clog. However, there is one mechanic secret you must know, the killer dowel pin. Inside the timing cover, there is a tiny metal pin that can vibrate loose and fall into the gears. It costs costs $50 to buy a tab to secure it. Do that fix, and you have a million-mile motor. Mechanics regularly swap these engines into Fords and Chevys because it is simply the best diesel engine ever made. If you find one, hold on to it. It is gold. These engines come from a time when engineers were allowed to build things to last. Today, planned obsolescence is the rule. If you're buying a newer car, you need to be extremely careful which model you pick. Some new 2025 models are currently crashing in price because they are unreliable junk. Watch this video to see which 2025 models dealers can't give away.